we had a shooting where a total of 7 people were shot. 5 people are deceased, including the perpetrator, which is Cedric Prather, Prather. Also, during that is his ex-wife, which is Latoya Andrews. Also, her boyfriend, which is Joseph Terry Brown. The children that were involved in this case are 5 children. 2 of these children are actually his biological children. The first one is London Prather. The second one is Jeremiah Prather. It's going to belong to the perpetrator. We have also 2 other children who are actually in the hospital in critical condition. That is Demetia Owens and also Jada Brown. At this time, it was over a domestic. Going through our investigation, it was over a domestic involving due taxes and also child support. During our investigation, that's what we came up with. I can't tell you how or why. I can tell you how, but I can't tell you why he did it. All I can do is to say he snapped or he had enough is what we've concluded in our investigation. That's basically the agenda of it. If you have any questions now, you can ask. Basically, that's just from A to Z. Y'all pretty much had most of that information except who the actual deceased was and who was his kids. If you have any other questions, just
Can you spell the children's names and give us their ages?
London, London, is Prather, Prather. She is 7 years old. Jeremiah Prather, he is 9 years old.
Is that
Jerimia. Jerimiah is how we were told it was spelled.
Is there any history of domestic violence?
I know they were married for about 11 years, what we were told, and they had been divorced around 5 years. We haven't found anything like that. We didn't see anything.
How do we spell Demetia?
Demetia is Demesha. Her last name is Owens.
Sure, yeah, you'll be on her age.
I got an age of 15 years old.
And Jada, J-A-D-A?
Jada, J-A-D-A Brown, yes ma'am.
And her age?
Her age is, I think we were told she was 7 years old.
And Demetia's parents and Jada's parents are?
Demetia is not the perpetrator, Cedric Prather's biological daughter, but that's the only father she knew. From what our investigation tells us and what we've been told is that that's the only father she knew was Cedric.
And Jada?
Jada is the child of Joseph Brown.
Okay. And they're all Latoya's children?
Investigation, no ma'am. I know there was some text messaging. I know there was some on the phone arguing about, my understanding it was about taxes. I don't know the agenda of that part. I don't know if it was about who's claiming which kid. I have no idea. We can only assume. I just know it was about taxes.
2 questions. Did you have any prior contact with this family? Were there any earlier domestic issues that you're aware of?
No, we did not.
And did this guy leave you any kind of a note or any indication of what had happened in his own mind?
No note or anything like that. He had made some phone calls to some friends of his, or actually the friends had made phone calls to him, and he was pretty much too far gone. He actually, my understanding during the investigation, one of the friends was on the phone with him while this was happening.
Can you take us from him walking up the street to him having access to the family when this all happened?
Nobody really, they saw him walking up and down the street. If you didn't know, he was probably parked about a quarter of a mile from the actual residence. He parked way up the street. I'm just guessing about a quarter of a mile. Some family members saw somebody walking, but that's nothing uncommon. Didn't see nobody with a gun. They just seen somebody walking, didn't pay him no attention. And actually nobody really started, coming out the doors until they heard gunshots and heard her screaming, and that's when everybody started really paying attention. Nobody really paid attention until then. Yes, sir.
Now, when I spoke to the family, they said that Demetia was responsive? She was starting to talk. When are you guys looking to interview her?
We are, she's still in critical condition. I'm pretty sure she's in and out, is what we've been told from the hospital. It's kind of hard to talk to somebody when they're in and out like that. I'm pretty sure she's on some kind of painkiller or something, but we've got contact with the hospitals when we can get in there and talk to her. But I like to do it right now, but you know, I gotta be able to do it and where she can understand me, we can understand her.
Captain, do you know what type or how many weapons were involved here?
One weapon was involved, it was a .45 caliber.
Are you able to place where everybody was in the house when the shooting started?
I can place, we'll start with the street. Street was a 7-year-old, was within London Prather. Jeremiah Prather was also in the street. Demetia Owens was also was in the street, and then Cedric was in the street where he had shot himself. In the house, it was Mr. Brown, LaToya, and we're assuming it was Jada. That's the only puzzle we haven't put together. Either Jada was in the house in the master bedroom with LaToya and her father, or she was in the street. That's the only puzzle we haven't put together. Or Jeremiah. They said Jada's a girl, but she's kind of a tomboy. She looks like a boy. That's the only thing we haven't put together in this, and we're still working on that as we speak now.
Oftentimes we hear about warning signs after the fact. Has anyone said they saw something or thought something that looking back might have indicated that there might have been something coming? Or
we got some information that there was something wrong with him, but we were never notified. We wasn't notified until after the incident occurred.
How far back was that?
Probably an hour, 30 minutes to an hour.
When you said there was a friend who was on the phone with Mr. Prather, was the friend trying to talk him out of something?
It's my understanding he was trying to talk him out, trying to calm him down, but it was
To
what
talk
his
about
friend
what?
doing what he did.
So he told the friend that he was going.
He actually told the friend, and I quote this, that you don't want to hear this. You don't want to hear what I got to do, or you don't want to hear this. Don't quote me. I don't know if that's the exact words, but there's some kind of saying like that. That's what he said.
Is your understanding that he went in first, Cedric went in first and confronted the adults, then he came back outside where the kids were?
Yeah, my understanding from talking to the witness is that he shot Mr. Brown first, and he shot LaToya second, and then that's when he started with the children.
Did Mr. Prather have any priors to your knowledge, sir?
I looked at his history and nothing come out. I don't think if it wasn't anything big from what I understand.
So he was never arrested in this county?
Nothing popped out in front of me. When I looked at the history, nothing popped out. I don't think it may have been a driving history for all I know. Nothing was big that popped out at me at all.
Do we know what he did for a living?
Yeah, I was told that. I know Mr. Brown worked at Southwire. I don't want to tell you something that's not true, so I'll hold off on that one. I don't know. I could probably find out for you.
Or his occupation?
I don't want to tell you something that's not true, but I could probably find out for you.
And online records, I've seen a Cedric G. Prather. I've seen a Cedric G. Prather Jr. Do you know which one he is?
Cedric Glenn Prather is a junior. He's a junior.
Glenn has one end? Did you say
Ma'am?
Cedric Glenn?
Yes, with two ends.
Two ends.
7/7. We have two date of birth, 7/7/81 and also 7/17/81, but that's on his driver's license, 7/17/81.
Do you know if it was his handgun?
We're working with ATF. We're going to have ATF do a track on that weapon, and that's something we'll do later. We're trying to put the rest of it together. We've almost got it put together. We're just trying to get the rest of the puzzle put together, and we'll get that done later.
Did he have a license to carry a handgun?
That's something we'll
You
do
don't know.
later. The ATF will tell us that. We haven't got that far in the investigation yet.
Kev, how are your, I mean, I take it this is one of the horrific things that you've ever had to work with.
I've been doing this for 28 years. 23 of it has been in CID and worked multiple homicides. This is the worst thing I've ever known.
How are you and your folks handling that? Because I know you guys obviously see a lot in your line of duty, but this must have been.
Absolutely. It's funny you say that. I just got out of the chief's office talking about this case and another case, and he says he's getting counselors set up for our young deputies, or rookie deputies who've seen this. Also, you ain't got to be a young deputy to see this. I'll be honest with you. Picking up that 7-year-old and putting her in that body bag I haven't stopped thinking about it. Let's put it that way.
Has anything like this ever happened in Douglas County before?
No. nothing like this.
This is the largest mass casualty you've had here?
Well, mine it is. I've been in 28 years, and my chief's been here 38 years, and he told me it was the biggest one he ever had too, so.
For people watching this outside of Georgia, elsewhere in the country, who may have similar issues with their loved ones, whether it's a divorce or ex, is there a takeaway or a lesson, something they should be paying attention to?
All I can say is if you think somebody's acting out of the ordinary and they're just not acting themselves and they've got a problem with an ex-wife or anybody, just pick up the phone and call 911 and get us involved. We can maybe intercept or at least stop it, or who knows? I don't know. I mean, we can sit there and quarterback it all day long, guys. It's one of them things where you always sit back and think, well, what could we have done different? Like I said, we didn't know about this until after the fact. Could people made some phone calls and called us? Maybe. Could we have stopped them? Maybe, maybe not. We can't. It's not their fault. They're probably thinking. My first thought would be, I would never think they would do something like this. You don't ever know how far somebody will hit the bottom of the barrel, or I don't know this guy. I mean, I just know he snapped. I mean, I can sit here and quarterback it all day long. I just, I don't understand it, and I never will understand it. I don't think anybody in this room, and I don't think his family understands it. I don't think nobody will understand it.
Ken, the status of the two children, Denisha and Jada, who are surviving at this point, you said Denisha was critical. I guess they both are?
Both of them are critical, yes, sir.
What happens after this? Do they go back to their parents? I don't know if Jada has other parents.
Yeah, she's got. We've talked to her grandparents and also talked to her mom, and plus we've also got DFACs involved. Also, we're worried about him. He's also got Latoya's got a 13-year-old that came up to the scene later after the fact, and probably a couple hours after the fact that we've intercepted, and I probably can't imagine what he's going through right now.
Denisha essentially doesn't have parents. What's going to happen to her?
Well, she's got grandparents. She's got an aunt. She's got parents. She's got parents. She's got an aunt, and she's got grandparents.
Going back to the friend who was on the phone with him, had that friend called him, or had he called the friend and
My understanding, the friend called him.
just to talk, or because he'd been acting weird?
I
or?
think that my understanding, it was just somebody had called him saying he wasn't acting right, so he called to check on him, is my understanding.
Do we know what schools the kids went to?
I didn't write that down, I'll be honest with you. Just where their address is at, probably factor shows. New Manchester High School, it's not hard to find out.
Can you elaborate on not acting right? Was it in the days leading up to this, or the day of the friend spoke to Mr. Prater?
Just pissed off, just upset and pissed off. That's basically.
Day of, in other words.
The day of, maybe a day before, just ticked off. It was, like I said, it was over taxes, and this is tax season, and it's over child support. So we don't have those conversations. We're going on what Latoya had told some friends, and the friends have told us during interviews.
Quick question. When I was here Saturday night, I overheard some of the family friends talking about he had called several of them prior to this happening. Do you guys know how many people were
We
called?
have not been told that. I have not any information on him calling any of the parents saying this was going to happen.
Well, he was calling them. I guess he left 4 voicemails on one girl's phone, and she says he was pleading with her to pick up the phone. And so
That's the first I've heard of that.
Okay.
I'll do something we'll look into and find out, but that's the first I've heard of that.
Kevin, what's left for you to investigate at this point?
Well, it's, in this case, it's not a prosecutable case. The perpetrator is deceased, but, we still want to trying to put the puzzle together, trying to figure out if it was Jada or if it was Jeremiah in the street. And we want to get the girls at the hospital interviewed when they're capable of talking to us. And then, hopefully within the next 2 or 3 weeks, we'll be able to close this case.
Indulge me, just go over once again about who was in the house, who was out, which kids were out.
Latoya was in the house. Latoya Latoya Andrews, Joseph Brown, and we don't know if it was Jeremiah Prather, if it was Jada Brown in the house. That's where we're, in the street, it was London Prather. And again, either Jeremiah or Jada in the street. It was Demisha in the street, and it was Cedric who took his own life in the street.
When he shot them in the street, were they running from him in the house?
From what our investigation says, and we're interviewing witnesses, said that they actually ran up the street, and then he kind of talked them back down, is what we were understanding. And of course, I've talked to one witness, and we have two that heard one of the kids, and we're just assuming it was London that she was yelling, "Daddy, please don't." So
And that was London?
I don't know if that was London. We're just assuming that because it said it was a small child, and Demisha is 15. So I'm just assuming it could have been Jeremiah. It could maybe been Jeremiah who did it in the street. He's only 9 years old.
Where was the 13-year-old who came upon the scene later?
He was had a basketball game, and he had actually left the basketball game. That's where Latoya was and everybody was. My understanding was at the game, and then they came home, and then he went to do something else. And she told me what he did, but I forget. And then she pulled up, and then of course we're all there, and then he finds out later what happened.
Have you been able to determine a time frame, like from the time the first shot was fired to the last shot?
No. We got the phone call. We got the call. I can't even remember what time. Can you remember the time?
Approximately 3:04 p.m.
3:04 is when the first call come in, and then, shots were heard inside the house that were muffled, which is, 45 is pretty loud. You hear them muffled, and of course the shots outside were louder, within minutes. We got the call at 3:04, so a few minutes before that. And that's just a guesstimate,
Do we know how many shots were fired in total?
We know that there was at least 4 shots fired in the street, and then there was multiple shots that were fired inside the house. I don't have a number. I know I counted at least 8. I know he dropped a magazine and reloaded. Actually, that magazine still had a couple of bullets in it, but he actually dropped it and reloaded.
Back to the 13-year-old, that child is with other family members?
Absolutely.
How many
Where did
bullets
the
does a
911
45 hold? 7?
Ma'am?
How many bullets does a 45 magazine?
It's different models have different, different brands, different models. I don't have the number on that. It's all in the lab. Usually some hold 10, some hold 12, some hold 15. I don't know what model of gun it was. I just know it was a 45.
But he came with at least one extra mag?
Yeah, he dropped one and reloaded. I'm just telling you, I know this is a lot of information, but y'all are getting a lot of this wrong. That's why I'm here. And I'm telling you everything. Everything I'm telling you is pretty much on point base, because we've been sitting in a room like this for about 2 or 3 hours going over every little detail. And that's why we're open about it.
Where did the 911 call come from? Was it inside the house or was it a neighbor?
Yeah, it was a neighbor. It was a neighbor. I don't think anybody inside the house had time to pick up the phone and call anybody.
From the time that Mr. Prather walked in the house, to the time the shots began, was there a quick ramp up, or was it a while?
There was a few minutes. That's all. I think within 4 or 5 minutes, it was probably start to end. I'm just guessing that, but could have been more, but I don't think it was.
If that 13-year-old had been home, that probably would have been
Absolutely. A 13-year-old would be it would be fatal too.
That's a male.
Yes, sir.
The lady that brought the 13-year-old up here, was she related to him at all?
No, she was just real good friends with Latoya. They went to school together. I think she said they'd known her since she was 17 or 18 years old.
And was the 13-year-old Mr. Prather's child? Or?
Yes.
Yes,
How have you been emotionally over these last days? How have you been emotionally over these
How
last days?
I've been? Me, the whole department. It's something here you don't get out of your head. I don't think nobody who was on the scene is, from the sheriff all the way to to the deputy coroner. I don't think no one stopped thinking about this, and we'll never get this out. I mean, soon you'll heal, but right now, I can't get out. It's not something I can't get out of my head. It's like I said, 28 years I've done it, and I've worked multiple homicides. In the 23 years that I've been in investigation, I've never seen anything like this, and plus when you did it with kids.
At any point was Prather's sister there?
Prather's sister? No.
No history of mental illness that we're aware of on Prather.
Sir?
Sorry, no history of mental illness on Prather that we're aware of.
Nothing I'm aware of.
Captain, thank you.
Any other questions? Should I buy one to the other, or get out, or?